All right, here we go with part 2, chapter 0.2, exponents. This would be 11 through 20. So I'm down here at number 11. We're looking at quotient here. We have y to the fifth over y squared. So in essence, what we're doing here is taking the exponents and we are subtracting. That's what the quotient rule of exponents does. Subtract exponents. So if I was to expand this out, this would be, I'll show you why it's subtraction. Y times y times y. We got 5 y's, right? All over 2 y's. So as I was working with fractions, you would see that obviously these would cancel, leaving you with 3 at the top, which would be the same as y to the 5 minus 2, which equals y to the third. That's why you're subtracting. It's more of a canceling piece than it is subtraction. Moving on. Here we go, number 12. There's 12 right there. Same thing here. I got 45 over 35, so I can reduce those by whatever number. I'm looking at 5, I would say, goes into both. So my number there is going to be 9 over 7, because 45 divided by 5 is 9, 35 divided by 5 is 7. I've got 2 w's on the top and 5 on the bottom. I'm going to subtract, but when I have less on the top and more on the bottom, the answer ends up being on the bottom. So I know that absolute value, I'll just take 2 minus 5. I subtract, I get 3, but I know that it's going to be on the bottom because 5 is bigger than 2. Okay? If that makes sense to you. That's kind of the way I've always done it. Here's 13 right here. So nothing I can do to the numbers. I get a 1 and 4, so that's fine. I've got 2 u's on the top, 2 u's on the bottom. Those are going to absolutely cancel right through. I've got 5 v's on the top, 3 on the bottom. That's going to leave me 2 v's on the top, and I got to bring the 4 over. That one's pretty easy. So moving on, that was 13, right? And then here's 14. Here comes 14. Another simplify right here. So going back to that idea that we have numbers on the top and the bottom, 5 goes into both. So I got 5 on the top, 1 on the bottom. 3 y's on the top, 4 y's on the bottom, so that's going to give me a y on the bottom. And then z's, I got 2 on the top, 4 on the bottom. That's going to be 2 more left on the bottom, 2 z's on the bottom. And there's that one. 15. So this one's a little more technical. I got to first do the exponent. Well, I could do this one of 2 ways. I could either do the exponent. So think of it this way, right? We just start throwing the exponent over there. Or I could reduce first and then do the exponent and see what happens. And I think that's kind of the way I'm going to do. So if I just kind of shrink it down first, I got M4 on the top, 7 on the bottom. That's going to be M3 on the bottom. 4 n's on the top, 2 on the bottom. That's going to leave me 2 on the top. Now let's do that to the third. Now this is just becomes straight multiplication. N to the 6th over M9. And there is my answer for that one. 16. These are relatively easy, just a little tricky. The one note I will tell you is if the negative is on the outside of the exponent, or the outside of the parentheses, it doesn't get affected. If it's on the inside, it does. So in this particular case, this is going to be negative of anything to 0 power is always going to be 1. Anything to the 0 is always 1. So I'm going to have a negative 1. That one's pretty straightforward because 5 to the 0 is 1. So this one, 3/5 to the 0 is all 1 times negative 2. And those get relatively straightforward on those. Here we go. 17. Rewrite the following without an exponent. So now we're talking about negative exponents. Okay, so we gotta think of it this way. Anytime there's a negative exponent, it always deals with a fraction. So if I look at 6, I could put this as 6 over 1. In order to get rid of the negative exponent, I'm going to flip the exponent down. So now this becomes 1 over 6 squared. That's what the negative exponent does. It goes from the top part of the fraction to the bottom part of the fraction. So 1 over 6 squared is 1 over 36. Oops. Let me erase that. I got 2 fingers going. 18. Rewrite the following without an exponent. Here's a whole fraction with a negative exponent. So previous to what I did, throw a 1 underneath. I don't have to do that here, but let's get rid of the negative exponent right out of the gate. So this becomes 4/7 squared. That's what that negative does. It flips this whole fraction into a reciprocal. So now I can actually do this. This becomes a problem we had seen before. This becomes 4 squared is 16. 7 squared is a 49. I just check real quick. I know I can, but I'll just check and see if I can reduce that. I cannot. So that becomes my answer. Same thing here. I got -6/1. This is 19. -6/1. Flip it. Becomes 1 over -6 squared because of that negative exponent. This becomes actually the same answer as one previous to this. 1 over 36. Whew, 20. Last one. Rewrite the expression without a negative exponent again. So this one you got to be careful because the negative exponent is only affecting the p. It's not affecting the -3. So in order to get rid of the negative, we put it up to the top. You got to multiply by the top, but multiplying by 1, so that's good. So this becomes p squared over -3. And there's nothing you can do to that to reduce that. So that becomes your answer. There you go, 11 through 20.